Good morning. I hope I have everything set up right. How are you this morning? Hope you're having a great morning. Hope you're having a great week. Hope you're having a great January because we only have a week left of January. Isn't that crazy? This has been the fastest January ever because usually January feels like it just crawls past, right? And I'm looking up, it's already February. Already looking at doing taxes. I'm really in a bind on my taxes because I thought some things was going to happen last year that didn't. Now I'm going to owe a whole bunch. But anyway, it'll work out. It always works out, right? It will work out. Anyway, I thought making more money would be helpful, but instead the government's going to make me pay a penalty for not paying my taxes on time. On time. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll figure it out. Isn't it wonderful what can happen in a day? And now look, I don't want to brag or anything, but on this emotional roller coaster thing, I can be bam on top of the world, hyper, everything's great, and I mean like 2 seconds or less, I'm on the bottom crying because everything's broke, including me, right? And so in just a day or so, I'm working through a whole lot of stuff right here. Got some changes on the jobs, different job. My whole client thing has kind of changed the last couple of weeks. I don't do well with change. I say I do, but I don't really, right? And so, that's changing. And Chris is actually getting better. Taking him to therapy now, to fitness, adaptive fitness classes, not therapy, it's adaptive fitness classes twice a week. And so I'm adjusting to some scheduling changes here. I got situations going on in my family that I'm not really at liberty to share right now. And there's just a lot of stuff going on. And I mean, I can be on the top of the mountain 1 minute. Oh, this is such a good thing. And literally 2 seconds later, be on the bottom. Now, I'm not bragging or anything, but I mean, my emotions can switch as fast as anybody's, right? And here's the thing. And this morning as I got up, I was like, I don't want to do the video. Look, I'm just being honest. Y'all know I'm going to be raw and real no matter what. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get up and get going. I already had my coffee, 1 cup. I'll have my second cup in a minute. I even got up early and just didn't feel like doing it. And I'm just being honest, right? But you guys keep me honest, and you guys, I knew I would start getting texts and messages. You okay? Everything okay? Is Chris okay? Are you all right? Right? So you keep me honest, and that's a good thing, right? And so as I started thinking about it, I started praying about it. I was like, what am I even going to share? Because I don't feel like I have anything to share today, right? And I started thinking about how just I can be so high 1 second, emotionally wise, right? And so low the next, and back up and back down and back. And I was like, you know what? All those fluctuations in my emotions and my thoughts, because it's my thoughts that get me that one place or the other, right? Yes, I got this. Woo, this is awesome. Wait, this is broke, right? And then my thoughts get me between those two, the extreme high and extreme lows. And I was just started thinking, you know what? God gets those fluctuations. He gets it. And so then I started thinking, okay, so are there any examples in scriptures? And so there's the only psalm I came up with so far, but I'm going to look at some more this afternoon. So I might share some more tomorrow. But even in Psalm 13, David says this, how long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? Right? So he's like, okay, God's just totally forgotten me. He doesn't see me. He doesn't interact with me. He has packed up and moved away, which we know is not true, right? He was saying, how long will you hide your face from me? How long will I take counsel in my soul? I have this sorrow in my heart daily. How long will my enemy be exalted over me? He is kind of having a little pity party here. And I'm not saying that there wasn't a lot of bad stuff going on in his life. We don't know which part was going on right here, right? His own son tried to rise up and take the kingdom from him, and then his son got killed. He lost a baby. He had an affair. He had a lot of stuff going on, and I don't know what part of his life he wrote this psalm in, right? But then he says this. He says, "How long are how long are all these bad things going to happen?" Have you ever felt that way? You know, it's just a lot of stuff, and it just seems like everything comes at once, too. You can't just have one thing, right? You got to have about 10 big things all at once, right? It's just like that. It just can kind of make you go, wow, what is going on here, right? That's kind of what David was doing. Then he says this, consider and hear me, O Lord my God. enlighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death, lest my enemy says that I've triumphed over him, and so he's sharing the first four verses. He shares, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't know what to do with it, and it feels like God's not even looking my way. Have you ever felt that way before? You ever felt like God's not looking your way? Have you ever felt like oh, he's out there? Yeah, it must be something similar to how Hagar felt when it says God found her. And God went looking for Hagar twice. And she's not even a main Bible hero here, right? She just got to have Ishmael, and we kind of look down on all that situation. But God went and found her twice and ministered to her. Jesus went out of his way to the woman at the well and ministered to her and talked to her about worship. He didn't even talk about worship with his disciples from what we have, right? And it's like, wow, it's just amazing that you see God go out of his way to reach someone, but then there's a whole different emotions when you think, but he's not going out of his way for me. You don't feel it. He is, but we don't feel it. And maybe David was feeling that. How long am I going to have this sorrow? How long am I going to be looking for some answers? How long is my enemy going to be doing better than me? How long, oh God, when am I going to win? I want to win because it seems like it's bam, 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 right? I want to win sometimes. When do I get to do the winning part, right? And then at the last two verses, though, now we've talked about declarations because declarations are a big part of that. So even let me just finish this, then I'll go there. So the last two verses, David, then he says this. He's like, all of this just is really hard right now, right? But then he says this, but I have trusted in your mercy. Aren't you still trusting in his mercy? Aren't you still seeking his peace? Aren't you just in general still seeking God? David says, I have trusted in your mercy. My heart will rejoice in your salvation. And that's one of our big things here, right? On Peace Out. Our salvation is not affected by the things that happen to us. We don't get unsaved, right? God doesn't reach down in time and erase the cross because we got crazy on this planet, right? He doesn't say, I'm taking it all back. Forget it. Just forget it, right? We can still just rejoice that none of this affects our salvation. Life can be hard. Life is hard, right? Maybe there's a pandemic. Maybe there's financial distress. Maybe there's a divorce. Maybe there's a loss of a loved one. But you're still secure in his hand because you've accepted his salvation. And that's something I rejoice in a lot because I'm like, none of this breaks God. Not even my crazy thoughts or my crazy fluctuations in my emotions. Hip hip hooray! Oh no, right? None of that that could give somebody whiplash if that was an emotion in your body, right? But it doesn't break salvation. Once you're saved, once you're really saved, you're really committed to him, you've accepted Christ and you're trusting God. Nothing can take that away. It can get as bad as it wants. We could have a nuclear holocaust or a nuclear, what do they, yeah, that's what I guess, Armageddon. None of that's going to take it away. We're still victorious in Christ. And here's David going, I still trusted and my soul will rejoice in you. And then he makes this declaration. He says, I have trusted. And then he ends with a declaration. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. Now, this sounds almost schizo because he starts with, are you even looking at me, God? And he ends with, God has been so good to me. And we're just talking 6 little verses here. Right? So I got a little competition, right? From high to low so fast. I'm just going to say, God gets it. God gets us. And it doesn't mean that we have lack of faith because we're going through a hard time. It doesn't mean that we have lack of faith because we're whining about all the things that are going on in our lives. I do that. Y'all probably don't do that. Yeah, or making our list of all these things are going on right now, God, and you don't act like you're even seeing them. We go from that to I'm going to trust you. David said in verse 5, I have trusted your mercy up till here. Why would I stop now? Would be my little addendum there. Why would I stop now? Why would now be a good time to stop trusting God? Why would now be a good time to just go throw in the towel? Why would now be a good time to just stop believing? Isn't the presence of adversity, the presence of struggles, isn't that a sign that we're going the right way? And that it's just a sign that we need to trust him a little bit more? Moses, when they had all the 10 plagues and all that, and he finally got the children of Israel out of Egypt, and the first thing that happened was he ran into the Red Sea. That was not a sign he went the wrong way. It wasn't a sign he wasn't trusting God. It wasn't a sign that he had missed it somewhere along the way. It was just a sign that God was fixing to do something really good for him. And he parted the sea. They go through. Pharaoh's army's wiped away. They go a little ways, and there's no water. Another problem. And they go on a little ways further, and then they need food. And then they go on a little bit further, and there's something else. Their adversities and their struggles were not signs that God wasn't with them. They had the pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day to lead them. God's presence was still with them, but they still faced some hard stuff. And yet they just kept moving. And so the presence of hard things, the presence of emotional fluctuations, the presence of fear, none of that negates God's presence in our lives. And David kind of shows us here. He's like, how long are you going to just forget me, God? In verse 1 all the way to verse 6, I'll sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. And it didn't take him that long to write this, even if he used a stone and a chisel. Right? We're only talking 6 verses, right? And so and so I just want to encourage you today to just remind yourself that God's still there. He didn't move. The fluctuations in my emotions, the fluctuations in my circumstances, the fluctuations in our lives, the struggles in our lives, is not an indicator that he's not with us. Just like he was still with the children of Israel with all the things they went through. And so I just encourage you today to just hold on. Just hold on and make your declaration. I'll sing to God. I'm going to trust God. We talked about declarations a lot a while back. I even have a declarations book. I think it's free on my website. I'll have to go look. It might be $1. And it's just all the declarations just out of Psalms. All right? I will trust God. I will believe in his mercies. I will sing of his mercy. Make your declaration today. It can just be one. I will trust God. And then when all these thoughts come for me, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with that? Oh, what am I going to do with that? It's okay. I can just stop and go, I will trust God. He's going to give me direction. He's going to give me wisdom, or he's going to provide, or he's not going to abandon me because I got myself in a bind. He's not going to abandon me because I don't know how to handle a situation. He's not going to abandon me because I ran into a Red Sea. He's not going to abandon me ever. I can just remind myself he's with me and make my declaration. I will trust him. I will give him all my anxieties and I will let his peace reign in my heart. With that, we can peace out. So peace out. Know that God is still with you and you won't scare him off. He's got you, right? Have a great day, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.